I want to thank Steve McKenzie for the beautiful stage design this market. Thank you so much. I want to thank yes, that's right. Give him a round of applause. I want to thank our showroom sponsor today, that's Stark. Remember that we will go to a reception and book signing today at Stark, and that's Suite 135. And I want to thank our media sponsor today, which is Southern Home. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Lynn Terry, who's the editor of Southern Home.
Thank you, Katie. It's always a pleasure to be here at ADEC and for the opening day. That's really nice. And what a treat for us to have Tim Adams and Andrew Howard. And Andrew's never been to ADEC, so it's really, as a speaker.
Correct.
So,
I don't want to get that
let me
reputation.
clarify that. Let me clarify that.
Wait.
Yeah. So, I mean, and if any of you follow him on Instagram, it's like America's funny man. Like if you weren't a designer, you would be maybe a stand-up comedian. I don't know. Because I read those Instagrams and go, wow, dog leg left. No, I'm saying something that has nothing to do with the picture, but back to that.
Yeah.
So, and you know, what's so exciting is that both of them have brand new books coming out or that just came out. So Andrew's second book is called Comforts of Home. It is really, really beautiful, full of color, and just really, really displays how a very family-friendly, livable home can be so beautiful. So it is definitely something that you want to invest in. It's an investment piece. Just like Tim's brand new debut book, Tradition Made New, is, you know, if you really love looking at beautifully designed homes that are full of natural materials, which I really think is your hallmark, it's just like, wow, mouth-watering, you know, like who wouldn't want to live in that, you know? So beautiful. And then this is Southern Home's newest book, and this is a compilation of 10 years. We've been published for 10 years. This is like some of my favorite projects, and so we will all be signing those books next door at Stark Showroom after our panel. So without further ado, I like to always open up with fun questions just to crack the ice, make everyone feel at ease. So, Andrew, if you weren't a designer, what would you be?
I would probably be, I just went to Alaska. I would probably be a bear because you eat fish all day and sleep a lot. So that's what I'd be.
Okay. All right, Tim?
At one point I said a farmer, but the last year I've been doing a lot of gardening. I've always kind of liked gardening, but I think I'd be a landscape architect because I could put the two together.
Okay. What are you listening to or reading?
Good.
Right now I'm actually reading The Gilded Life of Richard Morse Hunt. Mm-hmm. He was a big inspiration for me in life, so I bought the book by accident and started reading. It's really fascinating. So another book I just finished was The Alchemy of Architecture by Duke Tate, Ken Tate's son, which is a phenomenal book. It's a 30-minute read, but any young architect should read it. It's a really good read.
Okay. Andrew?
I just listened to a Dateline podcast on the way up here of a guy who wears a hockey mask and kills people. So I'm not going to recommend that. That's what I listened to on the way up here.
Okay.
I think I'll move over a little bit.
Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Trend that you are celebrating or conversely wish would go away? Andrew.
Open concept.
Open concept.
Yes.
You know, I've always hated tiny rugs, you know, and I think people will go buy a rug just because they like it, and then they put it in the space, and then they, of course, ask if they can use it in the design that we're doing. But I've always hated tiny rugs. I don't know why.
And your response to them when they have that tiny rug is?
Let me think about it.
It's not, that's a hard no. Maybe in the child's room or in an appropriately sized room.
In the back hall.
Maybe in a
room.
4x4 closet.
Yeah.
Rolled up in the corner.
Okay. What was your first job?
My first job was with my dad. I was not really wanting to be a designer at the time, but he was working on a chocolate store called Peterbrook, and we had to design a checkerboard layout for the floor. And he used the one that I came up with. I don't think it informed me that I was going to be a designer, but I did like it because I got paid in that popcorn that we were talking about.
Yep.
The chocolate popcorn.
Peterbrooke Chocolate has wonderful popcorn, if you've never experienced it. So, Tim?
McDonald's flipping burgers.
Yep. And did it inform you to work harder because
Yes,
you
it
knew you
did.
didn't
I did not
want
want
to smell
to.
like
I did not want
fries
to be
every
there the
day?
rest of my life. That stuck.
Okay.
Are you still a good burger cook, Tim?
Actually, I am.
Okay.
Better than the McDonald's, because
Okay. Favorite city to visit?
I just like going to places off the beaten path. I don't really think I have a certain city that comes to mind, but anywhere strange, different, outdoorsy, something like that.
Okay.
that's a hard one because there's a lot of them. I think if you had to pin me down, probably a hill country in Tuscany, a hill city in Tuscany.
Okay. All right. And favorite hobby?
Hanging out with my kids. I mean, we do a lot of stuff together. I've got, a 16-year-old now and a 13-year-old, and I'm doing a book, we were talking earlier, I'm doing a book signing in San Francisco next week so we can go to the Jags game. So that's my favorite thing to do at the moment.
Business expense /
Right.
casual.
If there's anyone from the IRS here, don't say that.
It's somewhat legit.
Yeah, what stays in ADEC
Right.
happens in ADEC, stays in ADEC, yeah.
My kids, we just sent our last to college, so I'm glad they're out of the house. It's been fun, but they're not my. It was a good run. You're getting into the teenage years. It's gonna be really just hold on tight. Have fun with that one.
Yeah.
I love the outdoors. I have a farm, so I love gardening, farm, sporting life at our farm.
Okay. All right, so let's get to the serious stuff. So looking back, what was the most valuable lesson you learned at an early age in your career that has really influenced your career? Tim?
Being a good listener. I think so often we get hung up on what we want to do and don't really absorb what the client wants. And I think if you really pay attention to what the client's telling you, process that, you can then give it to them in a much better, more creative way. But if you just shut down and kind of ignore everything they're telling you, you lose a client, but you also really just kind of lose the project.
Yeah.
My publisher advised me that I should try to get 1 million Instagram followers before this second book came out, and I'm about 900,000 or so short. So I did not take that advice, but I had a client or a potential client ask me one time, they said, why should I hire you when I could hire your parents who know a lot more than you and a lot more experience? And I was like, well, I don't really have an answer for that. So basically, that kind of taught me to not decorate like your parents. And
Right.
that's, for me, that I'm probably the only person that applies to because I have two parents that are both designers. So you got to do something different to stand out.
Well, and your parents are such iconic
Yes.
designers that both have books but I mean, it's clear that you kind of just set your own chart. You charted your path into what you wanted your design business to be, and it looks very different from what Jim and Phoebe do, to me. So, and you're just you're very fun, not that Jim and Phoebe aren't fun and approachable, but you're just
like
different.
me.
You're just different, So
Lynn, are you saying that I learned my design lesson?
Okay, what? Hey, Jim and Phoebe are wonderful.
What stays in-
So, yeah. Okay, so has there been a moment that has really influenced you that was kind of a bad thing that you ended up learning from that you have taken into your career?
I'll let you go first.
Mine has nothing to do with decorating. So I used to, a long time ago when I first started, my dad always said, you got to fake it till you make it. So I had this really nice sports coat that I spent some money on. My son was born unexpectedly. I rushed to the hospital. I'm holding him, and he threw up on it. And I learned at that. I think that's the point in time where I said that, A, I'm not going to dress like this anymore, and B, everything can't be so precious. I think that we need to understand that this stuff happens all the time. I think that's the first time I realized it. It cost me a dry cleaning bill, but I think that it made me realize that don't make your interior so precious that you can't sit down on everything.
Yeah. So one thing in Tim and Andrew's book is he has life lessons, and I asked him to make sure it was okay. In his book, he talks about growing up, they had the $5 rule if you sat in a certain chair or whatever, you had to pay $5 because that wasn't really what it was supposed to be for. And I asked him, did he have the $5 rule in his house?
We do not. If my parents were here and I was a kid, I'd be charged $5 even for this water. But I do not. I wanted to create a house that has no $5 fine rooms, and it's outdoor fabrics are amazing. I mean, I've got them on everything, and my kids are playing basketball and shoving each other around and spilling pizza, and it's just nothing I have to worry about. And when they're back in the old days, 10 bikes in the driveway. And I would come home like, this is going to be a mess. But it's not. It's deal withable.
And he clarified that Jim and Phoebe no longer have the $5 rule for the grandkids.
Yeah, the grandkids.
$100 rule. I think one lesson I learned early on that really kind of stuck with me was, sometimes it's good to say no to a client that's not the right fit. And somebody who either isn't going to listen, doesn't have the realistic budget, wants to drive their own agenda. It's just going to be frustrating. That person or client will absorb so much positive energy from you that takes away from other clients. And so I learned that lesson early on, that
it's okay to say no.
it's really important to say no.
Yeah.
I think, you were fortunate in a position where we're interviewing clients when they're interviewing us now. And that's
Right.
a really big lesson learned early on.
Well, every good partnership should be mutually beneficial.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's where you have your greatest creativity, and everyone feels good at the end of the day. And I mean, I think that's super important. I know when you're starting out, you may not feel like you can say no because you may need the work, but net at the end of it, you probably wish you had said no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who were your greatest mentors or influences?
For me, Robert Stern early on kind of influenced where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And I look back at him when I got out of college, he was starting to really kind of push traditional architecture for residential. And he kind of, to me, was somewhat in the forefront of what we're doing now, and really kind of drove the traditional movement back into what we're doing, and also kind of brought it nationally where people appreciated and valued it again. So I've always looked at his career from where he started then to where he is now, which is amazing. But that's always been, he always held a high level of standard of design. His work was always high level, and so I've always respected that. But I distinctly remember in college looking at him and continually just reflecting, when I first started my firm, just really studying what he did and how he did it.
Obviously, Jim, Phoebe, and Nellie Howard, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think having a family and sort of watching kids grow up and seeing how we've evolved and lived over the years, that's really informed my design more than anything else, because like I know if you have a son that's 13, he's going to lean back in his bar stool and he's not going to bet I get a swivel. I know if your son's 2 and he's got a chocolate chip cookie, the kind of damage that can be done with that. So I think that really sort of informed how I go about things.
Well, how did you have such a love for color and mixing patterns, and so how did that come about?
Back to that, decorate different from your parents.
Yeah.
And I think now, Lynn, by the way, I have a whole third of my book on neutral houses. So
Yeah.
just want you to know. So we still do whatever the client wants. My motto is, this is not my house, it's yours, and you're the one that has to live in it. So it needs to be a reflection of the people that live there.
Yeah.
With that 4x4 rug.
That's
Yeah.
in the closet.
In the
rolled up.
closet rolled up. Yeah.
So how has your design philosophy shifted over the years? I mean, I know for you, one thing you said is that you used to not like kitchen islands, but now you have one, and now you kind of appreciate.
I think kitchen islands for me, I didn't necessarily dislike an island. I disliked when an island gets like a behemoth and like a
airplane
big whale
hangar.
in the yeah. Mm-hmm. And now I have one of those because the kitchen in my house is just extra large, and it's where everyone kind of hangs out, and it's cool. I have pictures of kids like all sitting around it. So now I'm into big islands. I changed my mind on that.
Anything else besides the island that you really kind of shifted your opinion on?
I think we always have to shift our opinion.
Yeah.
I think anyone who thinks they're the smartest person in every room, that's when you start being a bad designer.
Yeah.
And so no, I think I try to surround myself with young people. I try to watch what stylish young people are wearing and doing, because that's what's going to be the next thing. I mean, when kids all had iPhones, and parents, we still had the flip phones, you knew iPhones were going to be the thing. So just watching what young people are doing.
So does fashion really influence your?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just as guilty of getting on Pinterest and pinning houses as I am like women's dress with fabrics that I like. So
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, Tim?
It's continuous. You kind of touched on it, but I feel like it's continually growing and changing and evolving. And what I realize, the older I get, I realize there's so much I don't know. That 20 years ago, I thought I had, all figured out, and I look back and I was an idiot. So you're continually growing.
Well, just so
changing,
you
evolving.
know, when your kids get to be 25, you'll get to be smart again.
I can't wait. But it's ongoing. It's a continual education.
Right.
Being open and receptive to it.
So, what is one principle that you hold on to no matter what? Design principle.
Real materials. You touched on it in our book, but synthetic materials, artificial things will never age gracefully.
Because I know you love to use stone and copper and
We like the real thing.
Yeah.
And it continues to get better. So that's been something that we really kind of try to hold to. And
Yeah.
at some point, the clients get into the budget discussion. You have to address it. But at our core, that is our driving force.
Yeah, that
being-
dreaded B word.
Yeah, it's a reality.
Andrew?
Mine is just do the best job you can for everyone you work for, even if it seems like you might not like the builder or someone's giving you a hard time. You gotta go out there and give it your best shot every time. And my second one is I don't like ceiling fans in houses, so try to not let that happen.
Yeah.
And little rugs.
And living in Florida, I mean,
Outside's good,
Yeah.
but when I had a client ask me, he goes, "Can I put like a one of those 12-foot
big
Big
ass.
ass
big
fans?
ass fans in here?" I'm like, let me double check some dimensions and see if it's going to work.
Let me get back to you.
We'll look into that.
If I say I'm going to get back to you, sometimes I probably won't.
Yeah, yeah. Don't take that as literal. That's just a
Right,
passing
right.
statement. So how do you balance timeless design with innovation?
I think that design-wise, like we've said earlier, your look always needs to be changing, but also, don't embrace these latest trends. I have this client that I'm working with now that has all these like iPad things in their house.
Yeah.
iPod, where you can stick an iPod to play music, which no one has an iPod anymore. And that was like the thing to get at the time, and it's completely gone. So technologically, I try not to get into many trends, and furniture-wise, just things that fit the client,
Yeah. Tim?
I mean, I think it goes to, first of all, understanding kind of what the past was, and then how do you kind of integrate that into the way people want to live now. I'm always wary of new materials, new things that come out, and I tell a client, what's that going to look like in 10 years? If in 10 years it's something that's had a lifespan that is doing what it's supposed to do, let's talk about it. But I think if you start with a core of kind of a base of tradition or history, it doesn't mean you're copying or, looking back that hard, but if you start with that as a core, then integrating some of the newer things seems seamless and kind of moves into the next generation.
So let's just like segue into, the importance of, or the evolution of open plans. Okay, that was the thing. And from what I'm seeing is that the pendulum is switching back to like a more closed environment, not necessarily closed rooms per se. So what is your answer to, I want that open concept sort of feeling, but I like a room, how do you address that?
There's a bunch of different ways, and it comes through conversations of what does that really mean to that particular client. But a lot of clients will say, we don't like the open concept thing, but we want to have that connection between the family room and kitchen, kind of the living space. And so a lot of times we'll start defining the rooms with, the living room or family room might have a vaulted ceiling. We step it down the kitchen, bring some openings in to narrow down that connection. I've actually done several projects where we put, internal windows like that we discovered were in the house or something like that to create the visual connection, but cut down on the noise. And then there is a trend where people are wanting to move away from the open concept, which I'm embracing wholeheartedly.
I mean, we're seeing a lot of pocket doors, really beautiful pocket doors, but pocket doors, haven't been used they were around forever. And they just kind of...
We love pocket doors. There's a way to do it where they actually work, and that's the key.
Right.
I don't even remember what the question was.
Just say yes.
Okay, no. Like a trend. Like, okay, you want to be timeless,
Sure.
but like this open concept plan, everybody wanted open concept,
Right.
And now the pendulum is switching back to more closed up rooms or being able to wall off rooms.
Right.
So, when you have a trend like that, like, I think we can all agree Gray has had its song, it's moved on, that ship sailed. So, are there any trends like that you think, a client comes to you and says, yeah, I really, I'm seeing gray everywhere, and you're going, whoa, okay. It's one thing if gray is truly their favorite color.
Right.
I'm not dissing gray, but it's just that my whole house has to be gray.
One time I showed this lady this fabric, and it had this white tag on the back, and some other fabrics were covering it up, and she thought the white tag was the fabric that we were going to use in her house. She's like, I really like this. I'm like, that's just a white sheet of paper. But anyway,
Yeah.
no, I think that for me, open plans are more togetherness, and you can kind of have that connection, and closed plans are good for intimacy and those cozy little rooms. So I think there's a world where both of them exist. I just think it's more of what the client's preference is.
So how do you guide clients towards taking a creative risk?
You ask them really nicely, and if they don't do it,
You ask them again?
yeah. No,
You tell them to get back to them on it?
Yeah, that's right. I have a funny story. My house, my personal house, is a kind of a combination of a lot of ideas that clients turned down that I knew were going to be really cool. And so I was like, all right, if you don't like it, I'm going to save this for me. And so when the time came, I put all my almost little show house rooms in one house, and that's kind of how my house came about. So if I show you a good idea and I say it's a good idea and it shows up in my house later, don't get mad.
Yeah.
I think for me, it starts with building trust with the client. And when the client hires you, they've hired you for a reason.
Right.
And it's based on, what you've done and what they've seen. So you can kind of go back to that. But if you don't have the trust and the confidence of the client to begin with, they're going to have a hard time trusting you with a different idea. And a lot of times we'll find, and this goes back to the point of listening to a client and understand what they really want. Many times we'll throw them a curveball and they're like, that's not what I wanted. But then you describe what you're actually doing and they see the vision, and then they're like, that is exactly what I wanted, but it's in a different way. So, but if you shut the client out to begin with, there's no chance of that. So it's building that trust, confident that they have confidence in you and that they believe in you. And
So have you had any clients where they came to you and said, I really want this, and you're thinking, oh no.
Yes.
So I'm going to get back to them.
Yeah, but
Yes, all the time.
it challenges you to think differently, and it ends up working out because
Sometimes.
I mean, sometimes it's like the clients are so invested in the idea that even if it's not the best idea, when they see it, they're gonna love it because it was their idea. I mean, that's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Almost.
What happens a lot is a client will bring imagery and inspiration images, and about half of them you're like, there's no way on earth we're going there. And you just kind of put those aside, you work through them, and you keep going back to the ones that resonate and actually have some meaning. And you kind of steer them back to their stuff, and then you build on that. But yeah, there are many times where you have that discussion that's not going to be good.
Yeah. So what are your habits that you really engage in regularly that sustain your creativity?
I sketch a lot. That just helps keep my mind and kind of occupies my mind. I look at a lot of books. I look at a lot of architecture whenever I travel.
Okay, Tim confesses in his book that he was inspired watching Downton Abbey.
100%. Not only for the clothes, the lifestyle above and below. One of my projects was driven by the stair hall in there. But I'm constantly a student of architecture and interiors and looking at things and really kind of wondering how it was done or where it came from. So whenever I travel, I'll try to sketch a detail or something. Or taking pictures isn't the same. I've got a million pictures of architectural details. I'll never go back to them. But when you sketch something, you really absorb it. So, but I'm constantly collecting architecture books, old and new. When we start a project, and my team's here, we really encourage bringing those books out. Even if we've done a shingle-style house, we will go and pull the books out and refresh kind of that style in our head. And it's not about copying. It's about just building that library and those details in the feel. And then a design comes from that.
I think that, it's important for us always to be looking at stuff. Books are key. I have a room in my house where I was watching Home Alone around Christmas with my kids, and a buzz was in this room. I was like, this is really cool wallpaper. So I took a picture of it, sent it to a friend of mine who makes wallpaper. It's like, let's make the Buzz's room wallpaper for our family room. And it came out great. And so I think you just find inspiration everywhere. I mean, it can be Pinterest, it can be design books, it can be, a flower, it can be something someone was wearing, it can be a napkin, it can be a tablecloth. Just keep that I keep that part of my brain open all the time, and if I see something, I just, note it.
So when you start with clients, do they primarily say, okay, I really want blue or green or whatever to be my dominant color, and then you work off of that? Or do you, how does that conversation start?
I typically will ask some questions, but I like we talked about, what you said with images earlier, when we're starting with a new client, I really want to show them a bunch of things and see what they react to, because if they knew how to say exactly what they wanted, they probably aren't hiring us because they understand it enough to do it themselves. So I kind of like to see what they visually react to versus what they say, because what they visually react to is what they really like, and not necessarily always what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were going to give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Buckle up, buddy, because this is going to get really hard.
Design is not for wimps, right?
No.
I didn't think of that, but I would agree with that. It goes back, don't be afraid to say no. Just say no sometimes.
So how do you define your success now? Is your definition of success now different than it was when you first started out?
Yes. When I first started out, if I was paying the bills, that was success. Now it's, having that, spectacular commission where a client fully trusts you, wants you to be involved with every decision, and respects that and follows that lead.
And pays the bills.
And pays the bills. That kind of happens.
That's always a plus.
Success for me is more family driven, and I think that success at work is great, but we always got to remember that it's work, and so success for me it comes in probably other ways. Than I love decorating a great house. Don't get me wrong, but going to San Francisco game with the boys this week is going to be really great. So
to watch the Jags
That's
win.
right.
That's right. So one question we were talking. What is one thing you wish that architects knew about design?
Well, Tim and I were talking earlier about this, and it wasn't Tim, but an architect left me with like this window that I had to put a bed in front of that was like off center in the room, and kind of like I was like, how's this ever going to work? He's like, it looks good on the front of the house, man. You're going to have to just deal with it. So I wish that they knew that we were sort of, it was a 50-50 split sometimes. I'm good with 50-50, 60-40 I can even deal with, but when it's like 80-20, sometimes that gets a little hard.
Sometimes when you have to make
like when the architect tells everything that happens and you don't get much say in it, sometimes that gets a little difficult for us.
Right.
So
right.
I just wish they knew that maybe we were going to be a 50-50 team.
Right. Well, I mean, to your point, it's like, okay, I could really make this room sing.
Right.
If the window had just been 3 feet
You
one
should have
way.
thought of this window
Yeah.
before you brought this.
Which, I mean, I'm not to say this because we do it, but when we do an architectural plan, we actually try to lay out furniture. Not to do your job, but when you place a bed in a room with a wall behind it and there's not a door or window, it doesn't mean that's where you're going to end up putting it.
Right.
But it's at least contemplated, and we try to do that in the planning process to be ahead of that. But I think it's important that there's a team approach to all of this, and it is you as well as a landscape architect and the right builder. That then defines a successful project.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So what lessons from the past do you hope the next generation will carry on that you've learned?
I think the only thing that I'm worried about for this generation is that they maybe some of them have forgotten the value of working hard. I think that they sometimes might think that when you start a job, you're kind of a TikToker at the job, and that's kind of not sometimes what we're looking to hire. So I just hope they'll remember the value of hard work. I mean, it doesn't seem, the people I was hiring 20 years ago are certainly different than the people I'm hiring now. So
Right.
just got to keep that in mind. Hopefully they'll just work hard, and hopefully we'll have good design for a long time.
I would say don't rely on technology too much. I mean, AI is a bit concerning. Hold true to what we started this whole career out with, and don't give up on that.
Well, your creativity is really that is your bread and butter, and you can't turn that over. No, you can't turn that over, but AI, there has to be that human element to really make it work. And to Andrew's point, I had a young lady that was perpetually not showing up for work, and I had a conversation with her, and she said, well, that 8 to 5 thing just doesn't work for me. And I
know
said,
her, Lynn.
And I
Same
said,
girl.
well, you know what? If that doesn't work for you, then you're probably not going to work for me. I said, I wish you well. I hope you find that place where you can meander in anytime you want and take that 2-hour lunch and leave at 3 for your yoga class. But it's not here. So, but that is a real challenge that we all face if we're hiring. And I do think it's an epidemic with younger people, and the expectation, I've been here for 3 months, I need to be promoted.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, okay, not gonna happen, but go ahead, dream big, baby girl. Try the Waffle House, and you might get promoted in 3 months, but
Kim, can you recommend them that McDonald's you worked at?
Absolutely. I think it's gone now.
Put in a
but-
good word for
McDonald's is still hiring.
Yeah,
Those
they're always
golden
hiring.
arches.
Because people leave after 2 weeks.
There's a McDonald's near there you could.
Yeah,
They're going to
Exactly.
They're going to Chick-fil-A. They pay
That's
$15 an
actually
hour.
true. A lot of truth.
So, and what do you believe is the most important legacy a designer can have?
I think soul. Architecture with soul.
I want to be remembered as a great dad, a great husband, a man of faith, and design. My design legacy is not something that I really worry too much about, honestly. I love doing it. I love my work, but it's not my life,
And to that point, I always think when I look on Instagram and everything's not perfect, and that's really a lot of why I like your Instagram is because you make fun of yourself. You're not too serious and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes on Instagram, it can be the thief of joy.
Yeah.
We compare ourselves so much, and they have more followers, and this got picked up, and blah blah blah. And I think there's such an important lesson to be comfortable in your own skin and your own accomplishments, and celebrating other accomplishments in no way takes away from you or your accomplishments. That's I like to say kindness costs nothing, and neither does professionalism. So in terms of projects, at the end of the day, you want people to think, okay, they were a good human, whether or not I hire them or not. I have nice things to say about the person that they are, and sometimes we do get very lost in the
Stuff.
Yeah. That doesn't amount to a hill of beans
Right.
at the end of the day, because there will be no gold star on your tombstone that said, he decorated my room well.
I mean, that's the other. I do want one of those on my tombstone.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I want.
Okay, note to self, we'll reach out to Katie and say.
We can make that happen.
Yeah.
So what is next for you? I know both of you have books out. You're doing book tours. What is next for you is it another book? Is it licensing deals? Is it?
I don't do a lot of the extraneous stuff, so I don't do a lot of licensing stuff. I typically just try to go all in for the people I'm working for. Might have another book coming up. We're kind of talking through that now about waterfront homes, and then a bunch of cool houses. I've got some quote, some people I'm really excited to be helping that are kind of bigger names these days, which is when they call you, you're like, how did this person get a hold of me? But it'll be fun to share some of that stuff really soon.
For us, I would say I have been absolutely amazed over the last 10 years. When we first started, we did not have so many what I call retreat second homes, whether they be oceanfront, lakefront, beach, or mountain homes. But now it is the incredible second homes retreats are stunning.
I want to survive the book tour. Just figure it out after that.
Short-term girls.
There's rumblings of possibly doing another book. That's probably in the future because we've got a lot of incredible projects that are coming out of the ground currently that I think will kind of set that up. I think continuing to grow what we're doing. Got an amazing team. They're all here and kind of developing them, letting them grow as well around us.
Yeah, the good bosses love their team to grow. That's a good reflection on them. Not, some people. I always say there's two kind of bosses: the ones that don't want their people to do better than them, and the ones that really get happy because their team is doing so well. So
the second one's a successful one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It doesn't take away from them. It just adds to, in my opinion, your overall happiness. I've got this fantastic team that's doing so well.
They don't need me, so gotta go do other things.
They can't. You're on a book tour,
You get to work less.
Well, that's why I'm on the book tour. They're taking care of business.
So what is, no Southern home should be without?
A great Southern family. I mean, for sure. that makes you pies and, cooks great food and it's fun to be around.
Yeah.
Porch. You got to have a
porch.
porch, outdoor living.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I always say I hope that most of you subscribe to Southern Home. We really take our job. I take the job of finding and curating projects super seriously because, you want projects that are across our geographic area but have different styles but are always inviting and gracious. It's like, what good is a home if you don't feel welcomed in it? And I say to all of you, the holidays are coming. Please open your home, invite people in, have that connection. Being a Facebook or Instagram friend is not a connection.
Yeah.
That's not a connection. Opening your door is a connection. Inviting, and they don't care how beautifully designed it is. They just want
Who's they?
Anybody.
Okay.
Anybody.
Thanks for clarifying.
And when I knock on Andrew's door, I'm expecting it to be fully designed and having 10 bikes out there
right.
and lots of kids and and it being welcoming. Yes. I mean, that is one thing that I walked away and it's like, okay, he wants his projects to be so livable in a beautiful way, and I think that's true with your architecture. Livable beauty is possible and in a very nice way, that it doesn't have to be off limits and you have your stanchions that nobody can go in this room.
Yeah.
They can all be beautiful and everyone can live in them and be at home. So with that, we're going to open it up to questions. Terry's got a mic, I believe. So any questions of Andrew and Tim? In the back.
Hopefully it's for you.
I know this.
This question is for the young man in the striped sweater.
Yeah.
Is it Howard, I believe?
I knew you.
Yeah, I had to make this happen.
Yeah.
I have one overarching question for the two of you, which, so it's a two-part question. One, since we've been talking so much about your favorite fine fast food establishments, I'd like to know if there was only one fast food chain left on the planet, which one you would choose. That's a question for both of you, but Andrew, I'd like to know your least favorite color and your most used saturated paint color.
My least favorite color is probably orange. I don't have go-to paint colors. I kind of just develop everything based on the fabric that I'm using. And gosh, I love Culver's. I mean, it is really good.
I don't eat fast food. I gave it up 2 years ago. But when I did, it was Chick-fil-A. Culver's is pretty good, though.
I mean, they got ice cream.
It got me thinking on that one.
Yeah.
There's not
I
one
thought you gave up
locally.
fast
So,
food.
yeah. Pardon?
Oh, this was 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah. Yeah, 2
Chick-fil-A
years ago.
has ice cream too.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
And good milkshakes. I'm well aware.
Any other questions? Wow, this audience is super quiet. Go for it.
We're forcing you guys to ask them now.
Yes.
Do you have an interior design part of your firm? Since your look is so unique that, somebody that understands where you're going?
So we do our interiors architecture, but we do not do interior design. And there was a point in time where we did, and we did it for about 10 years. But I also came to the realization that I'd rather work with professionals that challenge me, inspire us. It's that collaborative effort we talk about, because I think that whole layer needs to be really elevated. And so while we do control the architecture of the space, I really want the interior designer to come in and work alongside of us and help us build that. And same thing with the outside and the landscaping. But
So they put the windows in the right place.
we try to, not 99% of the time.
Okay?
Hi, this is for Andrew. I'm just wondering where you get your sense of humor from. Your mom, dad, your
My dad would say it's from him, but it's really from watching a lot of funny movies, probably, and my son, my older son, believe it or not, is hilarious, and so I repeat a lot of jokes he tells me too.
because your Instagram's hilarious.
Thank
so
you. I
I knew there
appreciate
was
that.
somebody responsible.
I'm still 900,000 short, so if anyone's inspired.
We're going to make sure that at least you up by 200, okay? We can commit to that, right, crowd? Go for it.
Thank you. What are some of the questions that you ask your clients in the beginning stages to capture the soul of what they're looking for?
I ask for inspiration images, and it can be one, it can be 100. I think that's a powerful way to communicate, because I don't ask people what style they want or something that they like, because they may say English tutor, but they don't really know what that means. It's just something that's been tied to something. So when a client will show you images, you really start to see what they're seeing. And a good example is we all see red differently, but if you point to that color, then I know what that color is. And same thing with the architecture. And on that same vein, I also ask them, pictures of, interiors, exteriors, cabinets. You just may like the feel. All of that's going to communicate something up front.
Oh, right there.
Lynn, you got them going.
Kathy?
So I have a question about what kind of questions do you ask people to help you decide whether they're a good fit? That I would like a little more.
Oh,
info
that's an
on that.
ongoing. It builds as you're talking. I've had my firm going on 25 years. After a while, you start to see red flags pretty quick.
First 5 minutes or so.
First 5 minutes, you're like, I got to hang up. Somehow I got to get out of this. Somebody call me. It's more just the dialogue. Are they? You can tell if somebody's a good person fairly quickly.
What do you do when you find out midway through the project that it's really not a good fit, but you don't want to lose, the relationship or whatever?
It depends on the situation, but a lot of times if it's, like some clients will call us and then, one of the first questions is, what's your budget? Let's be realistic up front. If they say $1 million, we're probably not the right fit. And I tell them that. I said, I would love to work with you, but that's not, we don't really work in that world, and we're not going to get there. So I think it's, maybe you call this guy or this girl, this firm. That's one thing I'll do. I won't cut somebody off. I'm gonna let the conversation go. I don't want to be rude. I want to be gracious, and I want to end the conversation in a positive. So I would never. That's just not me. I'm not gonna turn somebody off. So you just realize you're gonna invest the hour and do it, and then move on, and tell them you can't start for a year.
Or two.
Or two. And if they say you wait, then you really jack your fees up.
Andrew?
You know, all the same stuff Tim said. I think that for me, when I'm being interviewed by somebody and you get the feeling that they're only hiring an interior designer because it sort of checks a box that their builder told them, hey, you got to have a designer. It's like, this is probably not the right fit. Typically, you want someone that's seeking you out for your work and not just because they have to hire a designer. So, yeah. And then everything he said, too.
Hi. My question is, when you had just a story about a design failure and what you learned from that.
I redid someone's kitchen one time, and we installed the tile before the appliances, and none of the appliances fit. And so I learned to not ever do that again.
Wonder why. I think for me, it was early on, I tried to force a design to a site that didn't work. And that was a really valuable lesson. And in the end, you know, I walked away from that and realized you've got to start with the site. You've got to start with the property. In Florida, where it's flat, not as much of a big deal. But a lot of stuff we do in North Carolina, we are designing site-specific. And if you respect that and honor that, then the project's going to move slowly, and it's going to be respectful to the land. That was a really hard lesson to learn, because I really wanted to do this house a certain way. And the takeaway also from that was, you know, put that in your back pocket, save it for the right project, bring it back out then. But don't force an idea because you've got it stuck in your head. You've got to always be flexible and look around what's going on.
All right, any other questions? Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stark, for being our sponsor. We're going to move over to the Stark showroom where Tim, Andrew, and I will be signing books, and there will be refreshments and a good time. And thank you to Tim and Andrew.